Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Spooky Cantina, where we talk anything and everything Star Wars. I'm your host, SpookyJawa, and today I'm joined by Dr. Dana, Clone Command, and Zane. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is awesome. Glad to be here. Thank you, Spooky.
Yeah, thanks, Spooky.
What a pleasure.
So, today, we have a very exciting day to talk about. We're going to be talking about Andor Season 2, and we have a lot to uncover and talk about. So, the first question is for all of us, what is your overall opinion on the show?
I have used the words, and I didn't say this lightly. This might be the single greatest season of Star Wars I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, honestly, as much as I am a Thrawn guy, this is probably one of the best series now. It was kind of like Loki, where Loki season 1 was pretty good, and season 2 just made the whole show go to a whole nother level. That's kind of how I feel about this show. It went from being like a pretty good Star Wars show to just something that's one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched, just so you guys know, I haven't watched all of the episodes yet. I've only watched the first 3, but what the general gist of what I've gotten off of the first 3 episodes is that regardless of whether it's a good or bad show, it's a very controversial show, and it has a lot of points that are very unique in the context of Star Wars. And I think it's taking Star Wars to like different places that it's never been before. I'm interested to watch the rest of the season and see where it goes. But for now, I'm cautiously optimistic for, what the actual outcome of this show could be.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, it was definitely a great show. I'd give it a 9.8 out of 10. I think it's very slow paced, but what Tony Gilroy did and the other writers of that show was tied it into canon without really disrupting the other projects that have been added on into the Star Wars franchise. So I'm really, really happy with the outcome of the show and how it led straight into Rogue One. Anyways, guys, so what are your favorite arcs from season 2?
That's hard. Honestly, there were even not just like year arcs, but just character arcs in general. Like I loved seeing, what's his name? It was like Bix's brother or something with Saw Gerrera. That whole last episode with the speech.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've only seen the first arc, and I can already tell by watching the first arc, it's at the very least not going to be my favorite. It's just a little bit too slow for me. The pacing was really weird, especially kind of all things considered, like with the looking at the season 1, like comparing it back to season 1. But I think from what I'm hearing about the other episodes in the series, I think they're going to be better. So I'd say probably one of the future arcs.
I will say after the first 3 episodes, the speed catches up really quickly, and it's all action from there.
Yeah.
The whole Deidre arc, if we can kind of move into a story piece, I thought it was very intriguing to see her humanity, where she's so cold and she's so staunch, and she actually did care about Cyril. She actually did care about the Empire. She actually did care about her job. She actually did care about being a good little neo-Nazi or whatever, fascist. And when Krennic is confronting her and Krennic has his finger on her head, without too many spoilers, sorry, Clone Command, that moment of holy crap, Krennic, it like her arc showed Krennic's influence, motivation, if you will. I loved her arc anyways, and how they fleshed out her character and gave us more, especially like her interactions in the end with Krennic. My God.
No, it was definitely a very amazing story. There are so many aspects of the show that relate to the reality of the world. And I know Clone Command has only seen the first 3 episodes, so this is not really a spoiler. In the first 3 episodes, there's a bit of a controversial clip of Bix Caleen and an Imperial officer. And in case anyone online has seen it, basically everyone's going after a few content creators, Star Wars Theory, and they're really upset with him about the grape scene that was added. So,
I was
what
gonna
are your
say, are we
opinions?
allowed to say that word on YouTube or
We could just say grape. We could say grape.
okay?
But were you guys okay with that being in Star Wars, or it's a
It's
very
been in Star
controversial
Wars.
thing?
If I
Yeah.
can jump in, it's been in Star Wars. I mean, you look at Jabba. I mean, what we know what Jabba was, and the retaliation for what was happening to Leia. She killed him. It's the same thing
Mhm.
that or unlived him. Sorry.
Sure.
You know, the same thing happened to Bix. She was being attacked. She didn't want it. She stood up for herself. I thought it was a very I'm a dude. I don't know if I have a say, but I thought it was empowering for her to say, I'm not gonna be treated this way and stand up for herself.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think my problem with it is that in the Jabba scene, what was happening in the instance was implied.
It's implied.
It
Yeah.
wasn't actually like physically shown, unlike in the scene with Bix Caleen and the Imperial officer. I'd say that's my major problem with it. I think if George was making this show, I think it would have been like implied. I mean, it is a new type of Star Wars. It's a new show. I can concede that point, to where maybe that was like, I'm using quotation marks here, necessary to actually show it to prove that it is a different Star Wars. Where actually, well, it's the same Star Wars, but with a different vibe.
Mhm.
But I think if we are going to compare it back to the original movies George made, I wouldn't say those two scenes are comparable, just simply because it like I said, it was all implied with Jabba and Leia.
Right. Right.
So you'd be all right had it been a little more of the, you know, the door shuts as he's moving in on her, and then you see him running outside dying. That would have been a little more Georgie. If I'm
Mhm.
trying to, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think that's you're exactly right. I think it's exactly what I would have liked to have seen. But like I said, I can concede the point that maybe that's what this show needed to prove that it's grittier or something. But me personally, I would say I would prefer something that was a little more familiar to George.
Yeah, I'm just gonna tag in here. I agree kind of with both y'all's points. It did seem a little excessive for a little bit. However, as someone who has watched soap operas like Peaky Blinders and stuff, where they're really familiar with this kind of scene, it almost feels like Andor is kind of in the same vein of it is that grittier, that more down to earth kind of style, and honestly wouldn't be surprised that an Imperial officer did this, and I am glad that they're not afraid to show this. You know, this is Disney we're talking about, and with Disney, they've been very kept. You know, they've been very locked, insecure in kind of how they show everything, and although it wasn't a necessity, I do think it added to the story and to Bix's character.
Right.
Not that we just see a door close and then the guy walk out and get shot, but that we actually see her struggle and her character growth throughout that scene.
I think the problem, and I didn't actually have a problem with this clip, other than it's just it's a new aspect of Star Wars we haven't seen. The problem for me is that there are many ways that you could have implied that the Empire, you know, is powerful. They could have done it in many different ways. I don't know.
I actually have a lot to say about that. This sort of politicizing of Star Wars, and I know that a lot of people have told me. I've actually had this conversation with people a lot, and I talk about my major problem is that it seems like Disney has taken Star Wars and they politicized it. Now, a lot of people say, well, Star Wars is about politics. There's politics in Star Wars, and I think my thing about the politicization of Star Wars is that there can be politics unique to a world, like in George's Star Wars. What I would consider those politics to be unique. Maybe they're framed after certain aspects, but they're always like hinted at, like aspects of our politics.
Oh, are you talking about the illegal immigrants and the
Yes.
Okay,
that's
sorry,
exactly what I'm
I
talking
got
about.
it. Sorry, I was confused for a second. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but it seems, and look, I would say I'm a pretty political person. I've got like a podcast about that and all that sort of stuff. But on a base level, I just want to have a good story, and I want to have like just tell me a fun story I can get engaged with, and just keep the politics out of it, honestly. And when you start comparing it to like real world stuff, like like the white people betraying these illegal immigrants and stuff like that, it's just like, can we stop? Like, what are we doing? I don't know. Does anyone else felt that way? Like, I know.
I don't know if it bothered me. I realized it when I watched a TikTok video on it, and I was like, oh, I can see that now. But I don't think it really came out to me that way.
Yeah, that's better for you too, because I'm involved in that world, so maybe it's just me that it stood out to. But I've kind of noticed that as just a general trend of Disney is just trying to politicize stuff. And look, I think they can still make good content, and I think they still do make good content. I just think they're treading a very dangerous slope here, and I'm curious to see where it goes.
No, honestly, I do have, I do agree with that mostly. You know, I didn't notice that specific thing just because I was kind of lost into the whole world and the scene. But like taking a step back and looking at it, yeah, specifically that scene, it did seem like it was very politicized. And I mean, with past shows like The Acolyte and stuff, we've had a lot more into the politics and stuff that just no one really wanted for or asked for, you know, appealing to more of a general minority than to the actual majority of the fandom.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely controversial, and I think the more and more Disney has gone into creating like newer shows, I think they're approaching a lot of real world problems, you know, politics just being, you know, for Andor. But yeah, like I said, I literally did not notice it until I watched the video, and I was like, oh, I can see that now. It's the illegal immigrants in the Empire. But other than that, it didn't really, you know, bother me. I can see where it can bother a lot of the fans, but
I thought it added to the Empire. When you look at the makeup of, at least in Legends, we were talking a little bit about it beforehand. There's a lot in Legends where the human species was the rule of the species, and that was a Palpatine thing, very speciest, and obviously that's why not Tarkin, sorry, Zane. Thrawn, why it was such a big deal that Thrawn, a Chiss, was so high up in the Imperial Navy.
What a good guy.
What a good guy. And so when, yeah, I agree to a point that I feel like sometimes it's written in a way that's not copacetic to the story. It doesn't flow with the story. It feels pushed. But in the majority of instances, at least within Andor, it works with the story. It feels a part of the story. And for me, old guy that read all that stuff about the Empire and their terrible ways, it just kind of added to that and made it on screen for me that, oh yeah, I know these guys. Right. So, yeah, I agree. I think all the way around to a point with all of you. It's just, I think from my perspective, a little different with just the background of knowing that the Empire was pretty bad. So,
right. Yeah. So moving on. So we got the return of a lot of characters from Rogue One and from Andor Season 1. We got Saw, we got Director Krennic, K2SO. Are we happy with how they were added into the storyline of Andor, or, you know, what are our overall reactions and opinions on the return of these characters?
Wait, who? Kit Fisto?
No, Saw Gerrera, Director Krennic, and K2SO.
K2SO. Jeez.
Kit
I was
Fisto.
like, wait a minute, I haven't watched it yet.
What
but
did I miss?
Pretty sure.
I thought he was dead. Okay.
Oh, if Kit Fisto was actually in there, you know, he'd be all over the posters. They'd be milking that so much.
Just like Yeti Mundi, huh?
Wait a minute. Yeah. So all I've seen so far is Krennic. And you guys can give spoilers. I don't really care. But I've seen Krennic. I really do like how they've integrated him into the story. You know, he's at this council meeting with all these high-ranking Imperial officials, and it's just so cool to see him just be this like mastermind behind this plot to get like this material from Gorman. I think it's really cool how they added him into the story. I really can actually appreciate that, especially after seeing him in Rogue One. Really, I just love Krennic's character in general. So yeah, I mean, besides that, I don't have much to comment on Saw Gerrera or K2SO because, you know, I didn't watch it yet, but
Right.
Yeah,
I think Saw's character is really cool.
yeah. Honestly, it was really cool. Director Krennic was just amazing. I love. He was really good in Rogue One, and it just got better and better. Made his character just seem even cooler. Saw Gerrera, it was just so nice. Every time I see him in a show, it just makes it better and better. When he showed up in Clone Wars, you know, I felt for him. When he showed up in Rogue One, I was like all for him and against at the same time. And it got even worse in Rebels. And it got even worse in Andor, to where I both really love this guy and I really hate this guy at the same time. And I don't know which side to choose, which is how I feel.
You can't forget the Bad Batch where he killed Tech.
Oh my gosh. But
what?
yeah, hey, spoiler alert, by the way.
Oh, you haven't
haven't
seen the Bad Batch?
No, I haven't seen it. No.
Yeah, it's your fault.
I've
It's
only
been out
seen,
for
like,
a while.
It's been out for
season.
it's been out for a year.
I know.
Yeah. But I mean, and then my K2SO, I think he's the one that I've had the most problem with. I loved seeing him. He shows up at the very last arc. So spoiler warning. He shows up at the very end. He's cool. I love him. But I wish I could have seen more with him and more of his him and Andor just together, getting that companionship, seeing how that actually grew.
You know, it's funny. I'm on the exact same page as you. I really wish that they had introduced K2SO earlier on in the show. We got him in like episode 9, I think.
Yeah, like right at the end.
Right at the end of the Gorman massacre, where they released all the KX droids, and then we had him for the last arc where he's in the apartment and he's destroying the ISB agents or the soldiers. I really wish we had gotten more of K2SO also. I agree. But with Saw Gerrera and Director Krennic, it was really cool seeing their characters play into Andor's appearance into Rogue One. And then also we got to see the car, I think it's called, where Saw Gerrera first had his army. And then we saw Jeddah at the end, which leads right into Rogue One. So that was cool. I'm really happy with how they wrote these characters into the show for sure.
Yeah, the Saw stuff I thought was really interesting. It told pieces of the story that we did not get before. There was newer things. I thought for sure when you say it rolls right into Rogue One, I thought there might be some, weeks, months. Dude, this thing rolls right into Rogue One.
Right
and
into it. Yeah.
It really felt like I needed to start Rogue One. We didn't in the live watch, but we felt like we really should have.
We really should have.
K2SO bit, I thought if we would have had just one episode giving that relational piece, you guys are exactly right. I think that would have added so much more. And that might be just a fan thing because I love Alan Tudyk or whatever his last name is there. And he does a great job with K2. So, yeah.
Moving on to the next part. For Clone Command, this might be new to him, but we did get the recasting of Jimmy Smith with Benjamin Bratt for Bail Organa. And online, there's a lot of debates on whether or not the character of Bail Organa should have been even added into the story. What do you guys think on the recasting? And should recasting be in Star Wars?
10 of 10. I thought he did a great job. I like having that piece of the story because I've read about it. Yeah, 10 of 10. I was fine with it.
Yeah, honestly, like I think I said this in our chat right before we went live on a couple days ago, but I really liked his recasting. Right, we saw someone who was more wrinkled, older, grayer hair, someone who's had the stress of the Empire on them for years. I think it just really fit his character, and to have someone who was so like cautious about other people and everything, going from when he literally was friends with everyone in the Senate in episode 2, like it really the actor did a great job in showing how Bail probably would have been. And I didn't read a lot about Bale during this time. Everything I've read in Legends has been pre-episode 1 and post-episode 6.
Mhm.
But and then when you go to recasting, there's one thing we said on that show a lot, and it was that that actor who played Luthen's kind of adopted daughter-ish, she could have totally been recast as Leia.
Leia. Yes, Leia.
For sure. Yeah.
She looked exactly like Leia.
I thought she was during first season. I literally thought she was for like a little bit for the first couple episodes till they said her name. I was like, "Yo, wait a minute, it's not Leia." But it wasn't.
Yeah. Right.
I think in my opinion, like generally speaking, recasting in Star Wars, I think it's either hit or miss. A lot of times, sometimes there can be a really good recast, and it just really brings back memory. Maybe the old actor died or something like that. And it just really brings back like a lot of nostalgia for the character. But I also think that you can get a really bad recast and it can just take you straight out of the story, and you just start noticing little things where it's like, oh, his character never would have done that. His character never would have done that. Things like that. But all that said, I would 100% take a recast over like generating a CGI character.
Right.
Like what
And
they
we
did
are
with
getting
My guy.
Tarkin from Rogue One.
Yeah.
And we are getting recasting. Like we're getting Rory McCann for Ray Stevenson.
I like that recast. I do.
I'm really happy with that too. Yeah.
Agreed.
Dude,
Well,
that was like a while ago, wasn't it? It was a couple of months ago that was announced.
It's been a few months. I just remembered
that video did really well that I did on that thing.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then there's been a couple of recasts even for the younger ones. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of Han Solo, but having what's his name be Lando in the Solo movie.
Oh, Childish Gambino's
yes,
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover. Yes, I love him.
Oh, he did
amazing.
Amazing as a young Lando. And
Definitely,
I mean, we've already seen there's other people who can play like Mark Hamill. We don't need a deep fake this guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We had Leia in The Rise of Skywalker when she was younger. We've had young Luke, young Lando.
Yeah. Leia was wasn't it Billy Lord? And
Billy Lord
kind of mashed Leia's face on it.
They did that with a lot of characters, unfortunately. But yeah, at some point, Disney's just got to realize that all these characters and their actors are just disappearing. They're not on their prime, and recasting.
Yo, we got to get a Mace Windu show soon before.
Show how he got his crystal. Show how he got his crystal.
Exactly.
Just DH.
Or
honestly, Jedi season 2.
At this point, Mace Windu is the only character in all of Star Wars I would be okay with bringing back at this point. Like I'm not like a proponent of bringing characters back in Star Wars, but Mace Windu.
We didn't see him die,
dude. Just be dope to have him.
He didn't die on screen. He didn't die.
That's what I'm saying.
Imagine Samuel being on the screen again. That'd be crazy.
I mean, he was the strongest Jedi, so
debatable.
Debatable.
Well, the reason he was the strongest, okay, we're getting into lore a little bit here. It's because he would dip into the dark side of the Force too, and he was like, he was such a cool Jedi.
Does that make him a Jedi though? Sorry, I'm poking the bear.
Well,
I would say Kenobi's the strongest Jedi. He was fully a Jedi.
Yeah.
Mace Windu reminds me of like an old breed, like the old breed almost of Jedi. I don't know, like before Jedi were so caught up in like the politics involved in the Republic. I don't know. That's the way I've always thought of him.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to the next part, we're going to talk about tying in Legends into Star Wars, and we got the Gorman Massacre, we got the TIE Avenger. There are so many things being added. I don't know if it's Legends or not, but it's coming into Star Wars now. What are you guys' opinions on this?
If it works,
just yes.
Yeah. I think for Legends being incorporated into like Disney incorporating Legends just as a general rule, I am not like a big Legends guy. I've read, the first few Legends books and just the major ones, but I think in my opinion, a lot of my Legends friends are not happy with this kind of like nostalgia bait that they've been trying to catch Legends fans with, like obviously the Gorman Massacre, the names of the like Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, things like that. They haven't been very happy. It just seems like Disney's trying to draw them in and get them to watch another show that they're really just not going to enjoy. I think as a general rule, though, Disney should try to use more Legends material as long as it fits in with their general canon. But yeah, I think because obviously I think Legends has better material if it was adapted to the screen than whatever Disney could come up with. So
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, adding on to what Dr. Dana said, honestly, like if it's done well, it does like it's really good. Like I liked the Gourmet Massacre. I liked how they added all this stuff. One of the things that really got to me, I know this isn't in Andor, but it was Plagueis in Acolyte. I think that was done poorly. You just saw this little guy hanging out, and it was like, why even add this? There was no
That was really bad.
There was
That was
no
really,
reason.
really bad.
The only reason to add that was to like maybe get a season 2, but even then,
don't even get me started on the Acolyte. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you guys. I haven't watched the Gorman Massacre scene yet, but I assume it's done well because I've seen like a little bit of it was in the trailer, and Andor season 1 was pretty good with scenes like that. So I don't know. I think I agree with you guys too. If it's done well, I do really think it can be beneficial to a show. But in terms of like just trying to draw in Legends fans, I think that's a little bit of like malpractice in terms of like making shows. I don't really like that
Well,
at all.
I don't know. I think the real bait was the trailer when they had Dead Ramiro choking, and everyone thought that was Darth Vader
Yes.
choking her. That was the biggest bait I've ever seen. She was just depressed, or
Choking
she was
herself because
anxiety.
she missed Cyril.
Yeah.
Wait,
No,
what even happened? You guys can tell me.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. We're not gonna spoil that. That's too good.
It's so bad.
Oh,
And I remember
so bad.
because in our last episode we were all freaking out about how Darth Vader is going to be in Andor season 2, and we're all, talking about just one clip of him, and everyone freaks out, and then here we have it's just her by herself in a room.
It would have been cool, but honestly, there's part of me that's glad they didn't show any of Vader, any of Palpatine. It just
would have,
I think it would have ruined the Darth Vader hallway scene a little bit.
Yeah,
Just a tiny smidge.
Yeah, and then just the chance of having them there, like, what happens if the fans don't receive it very well? I think it was good leaving it to Rogue One. We know Rogue One worked with Vader in all scenes. Careful not to choke on your aspirations.
Stop.
Yeah,
I love that scene. That scene is awesome. But I was glad. It was a little depressing to not see him there, but at the same time, I am glad that they kept that to just Rogue One.
I'm glad it's not overpowered characters in a show where it's just guns. Like I think it would totally ruin it if Darth Vader came to the Gorman Massacre with his lightsaber.
Yeah,
because let's be honest, it's the show about Andor. It's him with guns. He's not an overpowered character. He's kind of just like everyone else a little bit, but he plays it smart. He plays it cool. Whereas Darth Vader could easily just kill Andor. So exactly. I'm really glad that they didn't add him, and I think, like I said, it made the Vader hallway scene in Rogue One special. They didn't try to add too much to Vader, and I'm really glad they didn't do that.
Mm-hmm. It also added just to the whole show not having any lightsabers. I think this is the first show we got with no lightsabers whatsoever. We didn't see any like huge bad guy that was a Sith or a Jedi, other than that one little Force healer. Like it really, it's what the fans I know had been asking for forever, having some sort of content that was just regular people. That's why the X-Wing series was so well, because it was just pilots.
Yeah. No, it was definitely. I'm really glad they didn't put an overpowered character like Vader, or they made sure it was just Andor, and then they brought the characters from Rogue One into it, and they tied it. I think they did an amazing job with Rogue One, an amazing job.
Rogue One is peak.
I still haven't watched it right after I watched Andor season 2.
I feel like I need to do that. I need to watch like the last episode of Andor, go into Rogue One, go into A New Hope. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
You're going to be up a while.
Watch.
Yeah. How long until we have all of Star Wars just like to the second? Just have like the whole entire storyline. That'd be fire.
That would
be fire. You could probably still get an Andor and a K2SO animated series at some point between that 1 year gap, you know?
Yeah, well, because we see them playing like chess or whatever, or
Yeah,
space
well, they're
whatever.
drunk and they're
Oh no, they're playing like some sort
they're
of
trolling you.
dominoes. It's not even Sabak. It's like just some random dominoes type game.
It's what's his
that's right.
name? Melshi and Andor, and they're just having fun. It's so funny. Next part we're gonna talk about, and this is probably the last final part. Did you guys think that Luthen Rael's sacrifice played an important part, and do you think it was symbolic, but also just like, I don't know, do you think it was worth it?
I think it was critical for the success of the rebellion. Him dying sparked the fire underneath Andor's bottom, and Andor was a totally different person the moment he realized Luthen was dead. I think he felt he had to carry on what Luthen no longer would. So his sacrifice, one, while surprising, really shouldn't have been, to me anyways, because that's all he preached was, for the greater good I sacrifice. And
Do you think
what
the way he
better
went
way
out?
to do that? Oh, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, do you think the way he went out was the right way, that he should have gone out? Or
I'm
instead
not
of
an
stabbing
advocate
himself?
for doing that, no, but I think for the story, it made sense. It brought I can't remember the chick's name. We were just talking
Leia?
about her.
Leia.
Yeah. It brought her to another level as well, grew her immensely as a member of the rebellion. And to the point that she sacrificed her father figure herself. Like,
Yeah.
wow. And so, yeah, absolutely. Everything that dominoed from the moment he did that to himself was critical. Yeah, absolutely.
I think the way they went at it with Clea having to lose her father figure and just all the people, it really shows the sacrifice they made for the rebellion and for the future that they wouldn't see.
Yeah, that's right.
And that
Luthen,
speech
the
from season
sunrise I'll
1.
never see.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it came true. And it's really, I think it's really beautiful. And then the last scene that we're gonna talk about, and it's a little bit of a spoiler for Clone Command, but what are your guys' opinions on the last scene with Bix Caleen and Cassian Andor Jr.?
Oh my gosh!
My
And
heart
he
broke.
kissed Jyn Erso on the beach.
I looked back at it; it was just a hug. It was just a hug.
That's
I
what
watched
they
it.
all say. They
Yeah,
changed it. I know what they were trying to do.
man, that I don't. That was rough.
I
It
mean,
was.
what? I mean, my question is why? What is that going to lead into? Why is Andor's child going to be important?
Because his sacrifice.
I think the sacrifice for the future of the
Yeah.
rebellion, and
Yeah,
he sacrificed his
Directly.
life for the future, just like how Luthen did for.
yeah.
I know why it is. It's so they can milk another character. Wait a minute.
Kind of what I was like thinking too. I mean, I do like the symbolics of it. Like it really it makes sense, but at the same time, like every time they tease a character, like they become important at some point in time, whether or not we like it.
Like
And
Broom Boy.
Yeah.
Like, who does that character?
Oh yeah, Broom Boy from The Last Jedi.
Not Broom Boy.
We're gonna get an
Why would you
animated
show
show with Broom Boy from Last
Oh,
Jedi, and now he escaped Canto Bite.
Oh, I hate Canto Bite.
He received a
I
I
letter
hate
to
The Last
Hogwarts.
Last Jedi is the thorn in all of Star Wars.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I would rather watch The Force Awakens 30 times than watch The Last Jedi once.
Yeah, I would watch Rise of Skywalker 3 times, but that's not. I honestly, we don't gotta get into it, but that was an okay movie in my eyes.
The
Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah,
We
I have
should
a
definitely do
friend-
an episode on that.
I-
We
we
definitely
should
do.
totally.
Clone Command. I think that Zane and Seth would get along very well.
I think they
because
would too.
Seth
I have
hates,
my reasons.
he hates The Last Jedi, but he loves. He's the biggest defender of the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. At one point, okay, this was a couple years ago. At one point, Rise of Skywalker was my number 3 movie. It's moved down. It's moved
Wow.
down. No need to.
Wait, where's the leave studio button? I need to get out of here.
It's moved down to like number 5 or 6.
5 or
Don't-
6.
Yeah. I grew up because of my dad, Mr. Dr. Dana. I grew up reading it was the Dark Empire comic books. And in those comic books, Palpatine comes back, and Luke goes to the dark side, and all this stuff. And so seeing something that was similar to it was really cool and inspiring. And just going into a theater 3 times, I saw it 3 times in theaters, once in IMAX, once in 3D, once in regular, all with different people. But going into theaters and just seeing all of these effects and music, and it was really cool. Other than the few parts where Rey and Kylo were kissing or stuff
The
like that.
CGI definitely saved that movie just a little bit.
Oh my god!
I mean, it was a well-made movie. Well, besides like the actual script, like it was a visually and like audibly, it was a good movie.
Yeah.
Agreed.
If it wasn't a Star Wars movie, I think it would have been a great movie.
Yeah, I totally agree.
100%.
Animals running across Star Destroyers does ruin it a little.
No one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
Exactly.
Well, if you consider it Star Wars, But...
If you consider
Not
Star
my
Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But overall, on a scale from 1 to 10, what do you give Andor season 2 and the lead up to Rogue One?
100% 10 and 10. I struggled a little bit and was a little vocal on the watch party stuff, but when I look at the season as a whole, it's great storytelling. It fills in gaps that myself for 40 years I've wondered about. And the way that it does literally walk right into Rogue One was beautifully orchestrated. It never felt forced. Everything that was a little controversial was just a little controversial.
Right.
It was great. I loved it.
No, I agree. And I was also upset with the first 3 episodes of Andor season 2. But when I look at it as a whole, I'm like, this is the story of Andor, and it's when it puts all together from season 1 to Rogue One is ending, it really shows the impact of Andor, and it's really good. I also probably give
Kyle Katarn, yeah,
the wannabe Kyle Katarn.
Oh my god!
I give it a 9.8 just because of a little bit of the slow paced stuff from season like the first 3 episodes. But overall, this is probably peak Star Wars.
That was like the exact same rating I was gonna give it, a 9.8. There were just little bits and scenes, would have been cool to see more K2SO, would have been cool to see less of this and less of that, more of this, more of that. But overall, like 9.8, it was almost like it still is an amazing show. It was almost a perfect show.
It's probably other than the Clone Wars, I'd say it's probably in top 3 best Star Wars show.
That'd be like saying like Naruto is a 10 out of 10, even though 50% is filler. I mean, Clone Wars was a lot of filler. I mean,
and that's what made it the best Star Wars show.
I think Rebels is better.
No, Spooky, we talked about this on our
No.
last episode. It's not filler. It's like a bunch. Well, actually, we can get into it later. Oh.
I mean,
I could talk about this for hours.
Clone Command.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Go ahead.
No, go.
No,
Please.
go.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna go. Come on, why'd you interrupt me? No, so I'd say, calm down. I'm gonna say 6 out of 10. At first, I've only watched the first 3 episodes.
I think that's what I gave those.
And you guys are getting me really excited for the other ones. So I guess we'll have to check back in one of these days, and who knows? Maybe it'll be a little bit higher than that. But for the first 3 episodes, honestly, the pacing was really weird for me, especially coming out of. I had just rewatched season 1. And just went straight into season 2. The pacing was really weird. And obviously there's some controversial stuff. I think what you guys are saying is going to make me appreciate it more once I watch the whole entire thing. But 6 out of 10 for now. I do expect it to go up, though.
100%. Now we're going to get into the final section, the plug section, where we plug our channels and just talk about what we're doing. Dr. Dana, would you like to start us off?
Sure. Every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central Time for all of us people all over the place. On YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, we do stream the Sith Dominion live.
And TikTok.
And we will absolutely be bringing Spooky on at some point here in the future. And Clone Command, we'd love to have you on as well.
Thanks.
And I also, if I can plug my side gig, there's a free session on a communication workshop. You can check out my website, dmilm.com, to learn more. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Zane, would you like to go next?
Yes. This next week, I have 2 gigs lined up. If you love country and rock, rock country, I'm playing a gig out in Oak Hill Social. It's in Oak Hill, kind of near Austin, Texas. It's May 23rd. We're playing just the 30 rack band, so that's without our main singer. All of us, we're going to be singing some songs. We got some Green Day lined up. We got some George Strait lined up. It's a whole mess of a set list. The day after, we're playing up in Dripping Springs, Texas. We got Hudson's on Mercer Street. We're playing at 8:30, so show up at 8, be a little early because the crowd kind of tends to get towards the stage by then.
You can't dance at one of these shows.
Yeah,
they just all have a crowd.
Yeah, but we're playing with Thomas Babiak. Thomas Babiak in the 30 rack. That's what they call us. It'll be really cool. So you might as well just show up if you live in the area. You know, we've had someone fly from Tennessee to come see us. So I mean, what are you doing?
Wow.
Dude, that's
It was
fire.
his mom.
It
We're
was.
gonna make it.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say. And then,
That's pretty cool.
Clone Command, would you like to plug your channel? Or
Yeah,
what
for
you're
sure, guys. So I'm Clone Command Star Wars Podcast on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify. We do weekly episodes, or we try to. It's been a little bit busy lately, but I'm getting back into it. Weekly episodes, we do news, Star Wars news. We do podcast episodes with some of the other Star Wars creators in the space. So Spookie's on there. I guess we're going to have to get Dr. Dana and Zane on. That'd be fire. And we talk about all sorts of stuff, but all relating to Star Wars. And yeah, that's all I've been doing lately. Thanks, Spooky, for giving me the opportunity to plug.
Of course. And thank you guys for all coming on. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next episode, and have an amazing day, and may the Force be with you.